Thank you. So I wrote this song right after the last major election to make myself feel better, just need a little bit more guitar. It's called Lemonade. When life gives you lemons, you know what to do. What? Make some. Yeah, and that'll be your part. You'll just get to sing Lemonade a whole bunch of times. When life gives you lemons, you know what to do. Make some lemonade. When life seems to get the best of you, make some lemonade. Life is an interpretation, could bring about transformation. As creator and creation, I'm making lemonade. As I focus on gratitude, what? I'm making lemonade. This helps to change my point of view. I'm making lemonade. It's the sacred law of attraction, putting my prayers into action. This brings me satisfaction. I'm making lemonade. Now we're going to spell it. It goes like this. Lemonade. Lemonade. I'm making lemonade. All right, Ted. When I smile from within, it shines right out, even when it begins with a pout. This is how I co-create. I'm making lemonade. When life gives you lemons, you know what to do. What? When life seems to get the best of you, life is an interpretation, could bring about transformation. As creator and creation, I'm making lemonade. Is that good? All right, thank you so much, everybody. We'll be back in a little while.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning. Thank you for being here. I'm Reverend J. Rose, the minister here at the Unitarian Universalists of Sarasota, and I want to welcome you. Unitarian Universalism is a religious community that draws wisdom from many sources, including world religions, science, philosophies, and our lived experiences in the world to help us make meaning of our lives. Unitarian Universalism believes that love is the foundation of our life together, and we covenant to live out our values in the world. Our stated values are justice, equity, transformation, pluralism, interdependence, and generosity. I want to just share our stated value of interdependence. It states, we honor the interdependent web of existence, with reverence for the great web of life, and with humility, we acknowledge our place in it. We covenant to protect the earth and all beings from exploitation. And that is why environmentalism is a spiritual practice for us. Caring for the earth is how we express our gratitude, how we protect the vulnerable, and how we honor future generations. So on behalf of the Unitarian Universalists of Sarasota, I thank you for your presence here today and for all that you do to help protect our blue boat home. And I'd like to introduce Marianne Bowie, the head of our community.
Former head.
Co-head. Welcome.
Welcome. It's so nice to see you. As you know, we invited over 100 environmental leaders and everyone who cares about the environment to come to join with us today in a day of joy and happiness and hope. It is brought to you by Unitarian Universalists of Sarasota, Green Team, and actually all of you, as you just understood from Reverend Walden, and from WSLR Fogartyville, and a very small, intimate group called Generating Earth Connections, which is actually me and Jane, who's also on the committee. But we keep pushing. We invite you to join us for lunch after the program, and of course we'll have a very stimulating discussion with Clayton Ferrara, who's come to us from Orlando with ideas for us, and Gina Carlotti, who is one of our members and a doctor of board-certified physician. So this is an opportunity to acknowledge and celebrate the community of Suncoast leaders. And I thank you for being a huge part of that community and making a difference. Next slide, please. As you can see, nature continues to show its head, even in a suburban yard. So we're going to reach in and figure out how to get nature a better place to live. Next slide. Our path is that, and actually that number is slightly off, but it's close. But we have so many new structures coming in, and we would like them all to be built with a native plant, landscape plant palette. But that's not so out of the ordinary. Other cities have gone that way. Other towns have gone that way. But we can't go that way because of regulations. But we can go that way by encouraging native plants. Next slide. So I want to read to you the butterfly prophecy. Grandmother Earth is in the process of bringing balance to human-caused ecological destruction. It is time for chosen keepers of traditional wisdom to build bridges, help heal humanity, and raise the vibration of Earth. Many people, and that includes every one of you, will be involved in healing and helping humanity connect to Earth and to each other. And that's from Think Indigenous by Doug Goodfeather. I hope that you'll remember that as we go through today. Next slide. Our message is clear. Bring balance back to nature by encouraging the choice of native plants that will save water, heal the soil, bring wildlife, and support health in humans. Next slide. Today's schedule is we'll have intimate music with Barry Lane and crew, which includes Chamber Martin and Just Stardust. And we'll have two speakers, Dr. Carlotti and Clayton Ferrara. And then we'll have question and answer time with speakers. Then we'll have another music break. We'll be having an excellent acknowledgement of each of you before our speakers. And then after a break, we'll have a moment for Nan Summers and a postcard action activity led by Mary Lou. Finally, we'll learn about what's upcoming. And if you go to you'll find some excellent materials if you go to the uusrq.org, uusrq.org,
and go to social justice and then to Green Team. And on that Green Team website, you'll find the YouTube recording from last year's event, and in a few weeks you'll find the recording from this event. You'll also find 2 downloadable documents, one about healthy soil and one about healthy food. There are a few paper copies on that back table, but anytime you want, you can get those copies. The other thing you'll find is that inside of our press release, we have a list, that list that you see before you, or that was rolling and will roll again while the music is playing, of the 115 different organizations that are involved in some way to heal and celebrate our earth. So, next slide. I want to introduce now Jane Grand-Boucher. Jane is a member of our UU Green Team. She's a member of the WSLR board. She is, and this is a big deal, and this has been a lot of years in coming. She's a member also of the steering committee of I Am Humanity. I told you about her participation with Generating Earth Connections, clearly the most important thing she does. She's a member of Keep the Country Country, which is an effort on Fruitville Road and Old Myakka to keep the country country. And she's also leads the Jane Family Foundation, and we thank her for her sponsorship today. So without further ado, I bring you Jane Grand-Boucher.
Yeah, it's funny because when I've done a lot in my I look at it like 50 years I've been participating in environmental things. I mean, literally, maybe 52 years ago when I was about 18 years old, okay? So it's been a long time. And when you would think about all the things that you've done over your lifetime, it's pretty extraordinary. You know, like the people that get in action and actually really cause something, that's the people that are sitting here today. So I want to thank you for being here. One of the things that why we chose native plants today is when I moved to Sarasota almost 40 years ago, and we had lived in town, and then we bought 10 acres in Old Myakka. And I went in to buy plants at Florida Native Plants, which was Florida Scrub Growers at the time. And I got talking to the owner, and he said, "Do you know how to manage?" I went, "Yeah, I know how to manage." He said, "Will you manage this nursery?" I went, "Sure." I knew nothing about managing a nursery, okay? I knew nothing about native plants. And he really gave me an education in the next 5 years. And we grew really hundreds of thousands of wildflowers and shrubs and trees. And, you know, it was such an experiment, and it gave me such a love of Florida. Like, it's just in my bones to know that when you see plants, the native vegetation that we have all around. And I used to have to tell people, go to, landscape architects, et cetera, and tell them about what native plants were. And I would take them a big, basket full of plants to show them, and they were just did not know what they were. And while we've come a long way in 40 years, we still it hasn't caught on in the way I would love to see it, because it's what the birds love. It's what, it doesn't use as much water. There's so many, and it's so gorgeous. My yard is a hodgepodge. I call it a hodgepodge, because I do have a lot of natives, but I have a lot of stuff that just came in by the wind, right? We probably all have that. So today, I want us to know each other a little bit, who are here today, and we're going to do an acknowledgement and appreciation exercise. And since this is an acknowledgement and appreciation luncheon, then we want give people a little idea who you are. So what I'm going to ask you to do is I'm going to ask you to get into, I want to do this. You want to get in groups of 3? We're going to get in groups of 3. That's going to take something, okay? Just turn to the people around you. I'd like you to be with people you don't know, but it's okay to be with people you know, okay? So will everybody go get in just groups of 3 right now? You can just turn around. You don't have to make it a big deal. All right, everybody got a group of 3? Right here? And Mary Lou, if they don't have a group of 3, when people come in, would you get one of the volunteers to help? Okay, everybody, what? Okay. Okay, be happy with your new group. It's fine. You don't have to live with them, okay? Okay, can you turn the slide, the next slide, please? No, well, that's it, but that's the acknowledgement. Okay, so here's the thing. Acknowledgement, I'm going to read you the definitions. Acknowledgement is about someone who someone is being, okay? Their qualities, ways of being, their essence. I acknowledge you for your generosity, for the way you always make space for others. You're acknowledging somebody for how they're being. Appreciation is about what someone has done, their actions or contributions. I appreciate you for helping me move last weekend and making it fun.
This morning, we are honored to welcome Dr. Gina Carlotti, a board-certified family physician and environmental advocate whose career bridges medicine, ethics, and sustainability. Dr. Carlotti earned her medical degree from Jefferson Medical College and trained in family and community medicine at the University of North Carolina, Chapel Hill. Gina also holds a master's degree in bioethics from the University of Pennsylvania and advanced certifications in functional medicine and the treatment and prevention of HIV infection. After more than a decade of service as a family medicine physician and medical director, Dr. Carlotti has expanded her healing work beyond the clinic and into the environment. She is actively involved in biochar production and innovation with Legacy Biochar and Minocarbon, developing solutions to restore soils and remediate environmental contaminants. She also contributes to her family-owned tree care business in Sarasota, turning post-storm debris into opportunities for ecological restoration. Her journey reflects a powerful vision that caring for people and caring for the planet are deeply interconnected. Please join me in welcoming Dr. Gina Carlotti.
Thank you. Sorry. Okay. Sorry, I have a little cold, so I'm just going to try to keep that up there and keep my voice. I just wanted to start with some thank yous. Thank you all for being here this morning. Thank you to the UU who gave me a home when I was here in Florida and a little bit having an adjustment disorder. from Pennsylvania. Also to the Green Team at UU, Mary Lou Keller, Mary Ann Bowie, and Jane Graham-Boucher for all of their work. And Ferry, I'm sorry. We've actually never met. And all the work that they put into organizing today and coordinating everything. Dr. Waverly and Thor Kallestad, who founded a company called Minocarbon, they're out in Seattle, and they're doing great work making biochar and working on custom solutions for environmental remediation projects. My partner, Paul Kirsch, who is also my partner in trees and in the char business, and to all of you. So next slide, please. Thank you. So today, Marianne also asked me to just make mention of the Sarasota County efforts in sustainability and the sustainability office at the county. They have great events coming up and encourage all of you to take a look at their website and join in. So what I thought I would do today, being sort of in a slightly different perspective than a full environmental advocate for my whole career, is talk about pesticides and their health challenges and some things that we can do to improve the pesticide situation and also kind of what's happening legislatively and in the area. So next slide, please. Great. So this is what I'll cover today. We'll start with some definitions and then review common pesticides, although I removed a number of them. It was too tech heavy. So we'll just discuss glyphosate and its health risks. Then cultivating safer practices, options, including native plants, which are one of the best ways to reduce pesticide use in general, but just things that people can do to help reduce exposures. And then advocating for community well-being. What can we do in our communities? What's happening at the local, state, and federal level regarding pesticides? It's a big problem. Next slide, please. So what is a pesticide? A pesticide is defined by the EPA and federal law as any substance or mixture of substances intended for preventing, destroying, repelling, or mitigating any pest. It's also defined as a substance or mixture intended for use as a plant regulator, defoliant, or desiccant, or any nitrogen stabilizer. So the definition of pesticide by law is very, very broad and does not just include insects or what's sort of commonly called pest. It really includes any unwanted thing, any unwanted living being in your landscape or in your agriculture. Next slide. And what's a native plant? I probably don't have to define this to this audience, but in the state of Florida, it's a plant that was here before the 1500s approximately, like before European colonization. It's something that plays a natural role in our environment and in our local ecosystem, and something that was not imported after the time of colonization. Next slide, please. So glyphosate, this is sort of an abrupt transition. Yeah, I couldn't figure out how to make it better, sorry. So glyphosate is also commonly known as Roundup. It's the most commonly used pesticide in this country. And it was first discovered in 1951, excuse me, and they were actually doing antibiotic research and found glyphosate as an antibiotic. Didn't work very well as an antibiotic, so they shelved it for a while. They took it out of the closet in the 60s and found that it was a great descaler, and it was actually first patented as a way to remove mineral deposits from pipes. So Later on in the 60s, they continued researching it and they discovered that it was a pretty good herbicide and actually better at killing plants than removing minerals. So in 1971, it received a patent as a herbicide in the United States, and it was brought to market in 1974, where it remains in widespread global use since the 70s. Next slide, please. So things went on kind of normally. People were just applying Roundup as a general herbicide until 1996. In 1996, the first genetically modified organism was introduced into the U.S. market. It was marketed as what's called Roundup Ready crops, and they come as corn, soy, sugar beets, alfalfa, and another species, cotton. And what this basically allows farmers to do is to grow a monoculture of their crop and then come along and spray the Roundup. The Roundup will kill all of the species, pretty much, any broadleaf plant other than the genetically modified crop of intent. And that, farmers felt like that was a better way to farm. And they were sort of told that it was a better way to farm than traditional ways of farming without these chemicals. So I'll show you a graph next, but after the introduction of the Roundup Ready crops, utilization increased exponentially, and that continued until about 2015, when the IARC, which is the International Agency for Research on Cancer, it's a part of the World Health Organization, they determined that glyphosate was a probable carcinogen because of its links to non-Hodgkin's lymphomas. So after that happened in 2015, the lawsuits started coming along. The first one was filed in 2016, and then by 2018, there was a first judgment against Monsanto, who was the manufacturer of glyphosate at that time. It's still a patented product, so it was all exclusively manufactured by Monsanto. And it was for a few $100 million. That was then later reduced on appeal, but it was the first judgment against the company. Also that year, Bayer, the German pharmaceutical company, purchased Monsanto for about $63 billion. In 2020, the lawsuits just kept piling up. They were amounting to somewhere around 185,000 lawsuits that had been filed against them. They agreed to a $10 billion settlement to settle 100,000 of these cases, and they also set aside a couple $2 billion for a reserve fund to deal with these cases. That doesn't seem like it's going to be enough money, though, because this year in the state of Georgia, just about 6 months ago, a man was given a $2 billion settlement regarding his non-Hodgkin's lymphoma, and the case goes on. Next slide, please. So this is a graph that I got from the USGS about the use of Roundup in the United States. You'll notice, I don't have a pointer here, but basically where it really takes off is 1996, where the crops were introduced. We currently use approximately 280 million pounds of Roundup in the United States. It's widely available. It's applied to pretty much any environment of plants. So it's used in right-of-way, it's used in residential landscapes, it's used in agriculture, it's used everywhere. Actually, before Jay even knew I was talking about glyphosate, he told me a story this morning about his old congregation where the landscaper was spraying glyphosate, and there was a farmer in the community who came up to him and said, "We have to get rid of that stuff." And the landscaper said, "Well, why? We use it everywhere. You know, it's everywhere." And it is possible to get rid of it, but it's hard. You kind of have to be really committed to the idea of getting rid of it. Next slide, please. So what are the health risks associated with this? Which I'll get to this later, according to the EPA, there pretty much are none. According to the manufacturer, also very limited. However, medical science would indicate that that's not the case. There's a large body of research that, there's a large body of research that shows multi-organ systems are impacted by this chemical. We don't really understand why. There's also an increasing amount of research that says that glyphosate, when applied even at levels allowed by the label, causes low-level inflammation in the body and also increases oxidative stress. These are processes in the body that are typically activated when you have something you're trying to fight off. It creates a lot of free electrons, and they just go, and they're sort of like BBs in your body, if you think about it. They attack things. It seems as if those processes lead to an altered microbiome, meaning particularly in the GI system, but our microbiome covers our entire bodies inside and out. And it appears as if this chemical alters the flora that live on our skin and in our intestines. It's been linked to fatty liver disease, which is becoming the leading cause of liver failure and liver transplantation. It's where the liver becomes inflamed and is fat deposits in the liver, and it causes worsening inflammation and scarring in the liver. There's also a large body of evidence that this has been definitively linked to Parkinson's disease and ALS, so some pretty devastating consequences. Next slide. And then there are the cancers, which I've mentioned, mostly non-Hodgkin's lymphoma, which is a family of cancers of the lymphatic systems and of the lymph nodes. The IARC calls glyphosate probably cancer-causing for humans since 2015. The Ramazzini Institute, which is an institute in Bologna, Italy, that was started in partnership with Mount Sinai in New York. They look at environmental contaminants and ways to prevent cancers predominantly, but other disease processes linked to environmental contaminants. They published a study this year in rats where they gave the rats varying doses of glyphosate as young rats, none of which was any higher than a allowable level per the label. And then they let the rats live for 150 weeks, which, I'm sorry if there are any vegans or animal advocates in the room. Typically, in science, rats are sacrificed around 110 weeks of life. And that equates in human years to about 60 to 65 years. The Ramazzini Institute allowed the rats to live out a natural life, or after 50 weeks, which is closer to 80 to 90 years human. And they found cancers in almost every, sorry, there's a lot of feedback. Closer. Okay, sorry. I thought it was too loud. So the rats developed cancers in almost every organ system, way above background levels, into old age. So, I think there's a mythology that, we're getting older, we're just getting cancers. Like, that's not really the case. Same thing with all these cancers in young people. I remember when I was growing up, I'm about to be 50, and when I was growing up, there was a case or two of breast cancer or colon cancer somewhere, but now 2 of my college roommates have had breast cancer. One of my best friends has ovarian cancer. One of my, like all these people around me have cancers. And what is that? That is not normal. And I personally, I'm not speaking on behalf of any organization, I think it has a lot to do with environmental contaminants. Thank you. I appreciate, oh, really, that close? All right. Okay. Sorry about if you guys couldn't hear me before. I was way too far away. The next slide, please. So this is the EPA's official position on glyphosate in response to the IARC. In 2020, the EPA stated that glyphosate poses, quote, no risks to human health when used as instructed on its label. They also said, quote, it's unlikely to cause cancer in humans. And I would argue that the preponderance of the evidence disagrees. Next slide. There's also an increasing body of evidence looking at combinations of pesticides, because the problem with all of these things is that you're never just exposed to glyphosate. You're never just exposed to one thing or another thing. We all live in these soups. And from a scientific perspective, it's very hard to design a study that looks at multiple contaminants at the same time. So there are some studies coming out looking at glyphosate and 2,4-D. 2,4-D is an older herbicide that is now being used more readily again because, surprisingly, not really, the weeds are becoming resistant to Roundup. So the plants are outsmarting the people, and we're having to go back to these other agents that the plants have not evolved against yet. So there was a study that came out a couple years ago looking at, again, rats exposed to 2,4-D and glyphosate at labeled doses. The rats found major damage to the kidneys and the thyroids in the moms as well as the babies. And some of these problems were heritable into the next generation. So it does seem as if it's really changing germline things. That has not been shown in the literature to the best of my knowledge, but it does suggest that there are long-term changes afoot. There are also significant changes to the reproductive system. These agents, when in combination, impact the hormones. So this was a study in male mice, I apologize, there's a typo, where we saw changes in sperm quality, sperm quantity, as well as structural changes to the male reproductive tract in these mice, again, exposed to glyphosate and 2,4-D at labeled doses. Next slide, please. This is a particularly interesting study that's being done through the University of California at San Diego. Back in 2008, they started studying a city in Ecuador where almost all of our cut flowers come from, especially roses. They use a lot of pesticides to produce those beautiful flowers year-round for us. And they started studying the children in these towns, looking at, and these are not children who were working in the factories or on the fields, they were just children in town. And they found really bad news. This is also a combination of 2,4-D and glyphosate. And this study also included DEET, which is like we use it up north for ticks, that these brain changes had no relationship to the levels of DEET found in the urine, but a direct correlation to 2,4-D and glyphosate levels. They looked at 5 different neurologic domains, and difficulties were seen in all of them. And this means difficulties with cognition, memory, attention, social function, and mood. It's pretty awful. Next slide, please. So what can we do about all of this? Because it can be devastating. We can improve the quality of the soil that we're planting in. We can clean up where needed, and we can improve in our area. We can improve the organic content of our soil. We can compost and add compost matter. We can add biochar to it to help with water retention as well as nutrient retention. We can choose native plants, which is why we're all here today. This is one of the best things you can do to reduce your pesticide exposure. Exactly. Plants don't need as many pesticides to grow in regions where they're designed to be grown. We can just minimize pesticide use. Embrace the dandelions in your yard. It's okay. And then if you do need to use a pesticide, choose the organic options when possible. Really just minimize the use. Use it as a last resort. And then we can change local, state, and federal policy, which is really the long-term solution to this kind of problem. Yeah, 5 minutes. Great. Next one. Next slide, please. So what's happening locally with glyphosate in Sarasota? In 2020, the city of Sarasota outlawed or banned the use of glyphosate on city-owned properties. Unfortunately, they replaced it with glufosinate, which is unlikely to be much better. Yeah, it's just newer, so we don't know that, we don't have as broad of a body of data. Next slide. These are some state-level developments that are happening. Many municipalities have enacted ordinances to require different percentages of native plants. And some local municipalities have also enacted bans on certain pesticides. In 2025, the Florida State Legislature tried to pass a bill that limited liability as long as companies were using the pesticides in accordance with an EPA-approved label. That did not pass, but I suspect it will come back. Similar laws have been passed and enacted in North Dakota and in Georgia. We can partner with organizations like the Outside Collaborative, which is a great organization that has a lovely conference in the spring. They are partnering in Central Florida with developers on pursuing sustainable landscaping and other kinds of native plant initiatives. Next slide, please. And then this is a big one. Right now, the appropriations bill is before the House and the Senate, the U.S. House and Senate. There is a clause in there that is essentially equivalent to the Florida state bill that did not pass. That, unfortunately, I don't have it here, but it essentially says that the EPA cannot use any, oh, I do have it. None of the funds from the appropriation bill may be used to approve any labeling change that is inconsistent with or in any respect different from the conclusion of a human health assessment pursuant to this particular federal law or a carcinogenicity classification for a pesticide, meaning that no label for glyphosate could be approved by the EPA that says it may be or does cause cancer, because their current position is that it does not cause cancer. That would basically mean that almost all of the current ongoing cases against Bayer regarding glyphosate would get thrown out of court in one fell swoop. So if this is of interest to you, I encourage you to make some phone calls, write some letters, let people know that you do not agree with this and that this is important to you. And that is kind of where I will stop. Actually, there's one more slide, which is we can hold our stakeholders accountable. We can ask for transparent data, unbiased risk assessments, and stronger legislation to protect ourselves. And when you make those phone calls and write those letters, I encourage you to ask for these things. Thank you.